Well, once again, thank you very much for the opportunity to be with you this week on Ask Chuck webcast, to take your questions on email, Twitter, and Facebook. Thank you very much for your questions. Normally the Senate meets Monday through Friday, but the Majority Leader, Reid, announced today that the Senate would be meeting Saturdays and Sundays until we get this debt situation / spending cuts passed so that the federal government will be able to function. I think that that is the right move for the leaders to do, and I'm glad they're doing it, and it's too bad that they wait until right now to do it, about 2 weeks before the drop dead date. And of course it's too bad that the President didn't get involved before about 2 weeks ago in this whole effort, because the President had an opportunity to show his concern about the deficit back in December if he would have endorsed his own deficit reduction commission, or in his State of the Union message January the 20th, or when he submitted his budget to Congress on February the 14th. Finally, he indicated he got some of a message when he revised his Valentine's Day budget on April the 13th with a follow-up speech to the Congress of or to the people, saying that he was going to spend $4 trillion less than just 2 months before he had suggested. So there's been ample opportunity before 3 weeks ago for the President to be out in front on this issue to show that he's very serious about cutting spending and making sure that the government's ability to borrow goes forward. Well, as is our characteristic in these webcasts, I now take a couple of the questions that have come in. One from Facebook, Joe from Cedar Rapids asks, "We have 2 children that are disabled and are on SSI. Will we still be getting their checks?" Well, I surely hope so, and I'll be working in that direction. But the reason I can't give you an answer explicit is because there's 4 Democrats and 4 Republicans, plus the President, that's negotiating this very issue right now. And until they come to an agreement and present a plan, there's not much opportunity for the other 527 of us in the Congress to be able to vote on it. And if the President had been involved much earlier in the 4 instances that I've already spoke about, you know, we might not be up to the drop dead date of August the 2nd like we're getting near to. So, Joe, I very much hope that that is the situation, that there's nobody deprived of their livelihood because of Congress' inability and the President's inability to reach a decision. The next question comes from Brett Des Moines, tweets, quote, "What is the biggest issue facing Iowans on a national level that we should be paying attention to?" End of quote. Well, the very same issue that I spoke to Joe about, and that is making sure that we get this rapidly increasing debt under control so that we don't leave a legacy of debt to our children and grandchildren. We often talk in terms of the debt being a fiscal and economic issue, but quite frankly it's a moral issue, that it's morally wrong for this generation to live high in the hog and leave the bill to our children and grandchildren. Government ought to be living within its means just like families have to. And the dramatic increase in expenditures over the last 2 years is just beyond anything the country's ever done except during wartime. And that is a 22% increase in expenditures on top of an $830 billion stimulus package that didn't keep unemployment under 8%. When you only have 2% growth, you can't spend money like that without having trouble and leaving a legacy of debt to our children and grandchildren. So that's the biggest issue facing America. Now the President will say he inherited a bad situation from the previous president. Yes, that's absolutely right. But if you take any statistic measuring the economy that was very bad on January the 20th, 2009, this president has made it even worse through policies that don't make sense. And I just expressed those policies that don't make sense. So that's the biggest issue, and I hope that you do keep on top of it, Brett. Thank you, Brett and Joe, for your questions. The Senate is going to take up today a nominee for judgeship. That won't take very long, maybe about a half hour. We'll go back to the Military Construction and Veterans Affairs Appropriation Bill. We may finish that, but if we don't finish it, we're immediately going to go to a constitutional amendment requiring a balanced budget. If we'd had a constitutional amendment requiring a balanced budget, we wouldn't be in this bad situation we're in now, because states, you know, have such constitutional requirements, and the federal government ought to have them as well. And I hope that we can pass it. I voted for it 15 years ago, the last time it was up, came one vote short. All 47 Republicans are signed up to vote for it. We're hoping we get at least 20 Democrats. That'll be the 67 votes that's necessary to move it to the states for ratification and part of the Constitution, and then the Constitution then doing something that's never done in the last 230 years is to make sure that Congress always passes a balanced budget. I look forward to your questions next week by Facebook, email, or Twitter. Thank you very much for participating. Those of you that didn't get an answer this way will answer either by email or postal mail. Thank you very much for your questions.